Hey guys, this is Anon, and today I've got some gameplay of one of my personal favorites, the Centurion 7-1. It feels like this tank is pretty polarizing. A lot of people feel strongly about it one way or the other. I personally love it because of its strengths. It does have some pretty obvious weaknesses, that being its kind of speed and mobility, and it's got a weak hull, but the turret is very strong. The gun is very accurate, it's got nice gun depression, and once you understand and commit the use of hesh to second nature, it becomes very, very powerful. So I chose to start with this Black Goldville game because just like I let you see there at the beginning, my team was very adamant about calling town, which is something I pretty much never am a fan of, and especially in this game, because if you had looked at the lineup, you would see we had a pretty strong caves advantage with mediums and strong turrets, but it is what it is, and sometimes you just have to roll with it. The major thing that I think is going to happen with this game that happens, I think a lot of times when you can pull out a win, if you go town, you're going to have to very much slow play this game. Because you're waiting essentially for the red team to make mistakes and expose themselves, unless you can get lucky and set up a good flank, or you get lucky and some of the red tanks kind of stream down to you. But in general, it's a strategy that's a little bit difficult. So right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and hang to this right side. Because when you get a team that calls town, I just kind of assume they're not necessarily the best strategists, and I'm worried that we're going to get pushed on the flank and right there pretty quickly. We've got 3 tanks to the right side, so I'm going to go ahead and start farming them. And you can see right away I'm switching back and forth between APC and R and hesh quite a bit, and it's because I really, and it's from really fast changes just like that. I think you have to get really good at making those quick decisions, and this is where game knowledge is really important. I don't consider the Centurion 7 and the FV4202 to be beginner tanks, because if you really want to do well in them, you have to really be good at those hesh mechanics, and it has to be second nature to know what you can pen with the hesh and what you can't. And why hesh is so, I think, important is because if you just look at the overall stats on the Centurion 7 and you look at DPM, it looks like an extreme weakness. It has the worst DPM firing normal ammo of any tier 10 or tier 9 medium, but when you factor in hesh, if you're able to get onto the flank or put yourself in a good position where all you're firing is hesh and getting good pens, it jumps to the best DPM at tier 9. So if you're not taking advantage of that hesh, then you're really not doing this tank justice. Even shots like that one where I just took on the 54 to kill him, shooting at the side is very challenging because if you hit the tracks, it's not going to do very much damage. But that sliver of hull, I go ahead and take the shot because he was over 350 damage, which means I would have needed a good APCR roll to kill him, where a hesh penetrating shot is a guaranteed kill. And I kind of figure if I'm not likely to kill him with 1 shot, might as well take the gamble and I'll be able to kill him with 2 shots no matter what. So I go ahead and take the gamble. So I've been talking about the tank a lot, just letting this game unfold because it has been moving slowly just like I anticipated. Finally getting pushed by this IS-7, which means I need to go ahead and take the charge and make it more challenging. Even though I know this tractor is soft cover, I'm hoping since he pushed he wouldn't know it, and unfortunately I take it out on accident because I bump it a little bit too hard. But I just want to get in close. The Centurion isn't a bad brawling tank because it has a nice quick traverse to it, so you can kind of move it around, but that low DPM with your APCR makes it a little bit more challenging on a tougher target like that. So I go ahead and propel that. Part of the reason I needed to brawl him and not run away is because now we've kind of set ourselves up so I know all the rest of the tanks are in one direction. They might span the this valley in here, but at least they're all to the west side of the map, which gives us a little bit more power. Because I don't really have any shots here anymore, I need to go ahead and start pushing, so I'm hoping to get kind of a partial flank going on and roll down through and start to engage this Yaguru and the STI that's here to the right. My Yaguru is fully in the valley, so he's in a really tough spot unless he climbs out of it. So I'm not going to be overly committed to dealing with that. And now again, we know where all 3 of these tanks are. I know the 183 is there to the left, I know the E3 is in cap, and I know this STI is kind of by himself. So that's why I go ahead and push the STI first. I know my teammate is kind of by himself down there, so when I poke up to shoot the STI, as I roll back, you're going to see I start to keep an eye on the tanks on the left because I need to be aware of them, and if I can help him conveniently, I will. But I'm not going to YOLO down there because then we'll be stuck in a crossfire and won't last long. I also have to worry about the cap a little bit here too, and that's why when this STI rolls back, I go ahead and switch to hesh and put that shot into the top of the E3. It's unlikely APCR would append it, but I didn't want to become tight against that kind of deadline of the cap, and so that let me go ahead and take him out. At about that time's when they both rush my teammate, and again, YOLOing down there is not going to be beneficial. I can take out the guaranteed kill, and now put me in a really good position because they are face to face, so I can go ahead and roll right down here, use the hesh in the side with that great high DPM of the hesh, and kind of finish off the kill. So it was a really tough situation to be in going town, but luckily my team held up long enough to let me farm some damage, and I was able to hold that flank against 3 tanks that gave us a chance to win there. And then just using this tank and using the strong turret was able to kind of position us for the win there at the end. Okay, I'm going to switch over now to Himmelsdorf because I think the flat maps tend to really scare people with these tanks that have weak hulls but strong turrets because it's harder to get hull down. The Centurion does a lot of things though, and I think that one thing it can do fairly effectively is side scrape because of its wide tracks, as long as you're really, really careful about angling. So it's still a good time to kind of work in this fashion, and immediately I get those great tanks right in front of me. I'm starting with APCR because I wasn't expecting those to be there, but you can pen the front of a Centurion one with hesh, and that's why I'm switching over to that. And instantly just trying to kind of be aware and work and just let my tracks kind of start to absorb these shots. It takes a while sometimes when you go on the rail side to let the rest of your team catch up, so again, that's why I'm not really in a hurry. The Centurion also has really nice view range, second best at tier 9 if I remember right, so it lets me kind of see anything that's going to start to come up there on the left, so it lets me really hold this side and keep an eye on them as they start to roll away. So as a couple of the tanks start to run, I can push forward a little bit because so far it's not looking like their whole team's going to be over here. And so again, I'm just kind of ready with the hesh because I'm pretty sure I'm going to get soft shots. If I'd have gotten the side of the T-54 like this popped up right there, you got a good shot into me, I probably would have switched to the APCR, but good ammo management is extremely important. I know I carry all premium hesh, and that's something that not everybody's obviously going to do, but for me it's the highlight of this tank, and it still doesn't do too bad with earnings as long as you're having good games, so that's why I'm not afraid to go ahead and use that. You're more than welcome to use the non-premium hesh, you just can't necessarily shoot the front of as many tanks as the premium can, and like I said, for me this is what this tank's all about, that and the turret, so I'm going to go ahead and fire that and not feel bad about it. So I've gone ahead and switched myself back up into another side scraping position. I took one, but I bounced one, and these are against two pretty big heavies, but I've got to be aware of this side because they've really pushed in the flank. The Carnarvon's got really good pen too, and that's probably part of the reason he's able to put a couple into me. But I'm going to go ahead and scoot forward here because they're pushing really hard on the backside, and there's only so much I'm going to be able to do about them. They've kind of won that flank. And the rest of my team had pushed forward. So it's kind of a tricky position, and I'm just kind of moving in and out. You can see obviously what happens when you miss with the hash. I only got a 200 roll on that Borsig. There is a little bit of gamble that comes in with it, but it's just something that comes with the territory. The better you get with it, the less of those you'll have, and I honestly don't have too many of them. So I'm just going to swing around here, put myself in a position to start firing this hesh again. It's just a tough situation because my team has gotten into kind of a crossfire, and that's why I need to swing around here and just try and help them as much as I can. They've fought through and done a really good job kind of on that other side, so again, I'm just trying to stay away from guns. I'm essentially always working on a flank if I'm not in a side scraping or hold down position, so you can be flanked and still be close in. I'm just working on the backs of these tanks. I side scrape when I can, but sometimes that just doesn't necessarily work and you have to switch, and that's what it was able to kind of do. This was a quick battle. but the amount of hesh I fired means I was doing a lot of damage. And again, that's what's so beautiful about this tank. At almost 2700 DPM with hesh, that means you can really farm a lot of damage and do still be a real asset to your team, even if you're in a tougher map like that. Okay, so we'll switch over to one last battle that sees the Centurion in kind of more of a typical role on mines, and I've got enough mediums, so it's going to be pretty obvious what I do right off the bat, or at least try to, because this T-54, instead of doing what he's supposed to do and go up the hill, blocks people from doing it. So don't normally do the idiot call, but that is about as dumb a move as you can do. On mines, you want to take the hill as quickly as possible, and instead he's messaging people right in front of everybody, so it is what it is. We've all had it happen before, and going to go ahead and continue to move on. So, luckily we get a free shot up here. Sorry, I just saw some more of that, the messaging from that 54, which kind of cracks me up. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and take on this typical roll and work in here. Because nothing's been spotted, I'm trying to be careful, because you don't want to roll out too far and get shot by stuff in a sniper position. Because nothing's been seen right off the bat, it lets me believe that they're going to be flanking around the hill, which is exactly what's starting to look like. I'm dragging wide here because I'm hoping to see anything else kind of as I drag by. And right off the bat pick up that Louvre, so I can put a couple shots into him. He realizes he's not going to have good luck at me right there, so continues on, which is probably a good choice. And it works out for me too. I need to push forward because sure enough, there's the entire team. And it's an interesting strategy. It's not a terrible strategy because we're obviously going to take the hill. You just have to be really aware of it, kind of on both sides. My 54 buddy here took some big shots because you can't roll out that far. And I have to be careful because I know there's a couple to that right side. So I take a couple shots that I probably shouldn't have. But now I can roll back and go ahead and let this turret work. The idea to keep yourself safe in these situations with gun depression is if you're rolling forward just far enough that you can see over the hill, it means that only your turret should be exposed when you're pointed down. So it's kind of a good indication of that. A couple bad shots there, but because they've pushed so far in, there's other hills kind of right here on the side. It doesn't take a deep hill to be able to use that gun depression and keep your tank safe, and so that's exactly what I'm doing here. As long as I can kind of stay on these soft edges and especially keep him looking away, I can go ahead and pepper the side with hesh and make sure I'm doing that maximum damage, because they have pushed in really pretty far here, but again, this is that beautiful DPM. If they're going to keep showing me the sides and backs of tanks, it means I can just kind of farm away at it. And you can see 470 rolls, 500 rolls. It just does a nice job. So I'm being protective because I had given up too much of my hit points early on, and so that's why I'm kind of backing up anytime, which is a good indication, or a good choice, because obviously there were a few more tanks that were starting to push up. So again, just using that great gun depression, exactly how it's designed. Switching to APCR if I don't need a bigger than 300 roll, so that kind of serves your credits a little bit, and also if you want the more guaranteed pen, that's always nice too. And this is why I've been working hard in conserving, because now we're tied with tanks, and we were down one there for a second. But I take a huge shot from my left, which can only be the T95, so I need to go ahead and come back up the hill. I want to deal with the T95 last, because we have someone in cap, and he should be able to see him coming up. So instead I can switch over the IS-8, and again, just be very careful with it. And see, you can see how I'm just rolling up enough to get my gun down on him. And that means that he's going to be shooting up at my turret, and that'll be a pretty difficult shot. I don't want to roll forward too far, because it'll give him shots at the hull, so I'm just going to be very patient with that. I'm kind of hoping in this situation the guy at cap is going to peek out enough to take a shot, but since he doesn't, go ahead and tell him to keep that cap going, because the T95 is going to take some time to get up to it. And again, like I said, hopefully spot him, and right now we can just hold this IS-8. If he's not interested in resetting the cap, then we've got a lot more time to work from, and I'm trying to put a shot kind of on the top of his turret, which unfortunately doesn't go through, but I know I have reload on him, so I can roll forward enough to go ahead and take that nice shot, and now swing back around to protect the cap again. So I've taken a little bit more damage than I necessarily wanted to, but anything with a strong turret like this in the medium range is going to be able to do so well on this map, as we all know, and it's just a good example of using that well. The mobility, I feel like, is just very negotiable with this tank. Yes, it doesn't fly around the field like lights and mediums, most other mediums, but if you're using yourself with good positioning, and you can use that turret to be hull down, it gives you a lot more leeway to kind of mess with that. So, like I said, this is one of my personal favorites. I hope this helps a little bit. I know this is a tougher tank to drive. Get comfortable with the hesh, and kind of go from there. As always, be sure to like this video and subscribe on YouTube, and also on Twitch, because lots of good examples on there as well. So thanks a lot, guys.